Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about if now is the perfect time to be buying on Bitcoin. Now obviously I'm saying on Bitcoin, not Bitcoin specifically, and that's because Bitcoin, if you're not aware, has a pretty well developed, or I guess developing very early on in the process, ecosystem of things and projects and whatnot trying to build on Bitcoin. And so it's a really interesting concept because obviously what we can see is Bitcoin has trillions of dollars of value. We're seeing increasing amounts of liquidity locked on Bitcoin. So overall, a lot of really interesting things kind of shaping up within the Bitcoin ecosystem, the Bitcoin network, all that type of stuff. So I want to talk a little bit today about, is it potentially a good time to be investing on the Bitcoin network? So anyway, let's go on ahead, dive right in. Well, let's check out some of the things that we have to look at today. We can see starting out here, if we zoom in a little bit, we can take a look and see that the Bitcoin's seeing a pretty nice bounce today. We obviously came down, dipped outside of this zone of liquidity here. We actually broke down below 90K, hitting lows of about, 89,300-ish roughly. So we did kind of break out of this. Obviously we wicked right back up. People were very quick to buy that dip, and we are now actually sitting, we actually broke 100,000 momentarily. Right now we're sitting at 99,750. So just shy of that $100,000 mark. We do have this liquidity zone here that we have kind of dipped back towards. We probably will hold into it just because we have seen this be a decent bit of both support and resistance. So, we will probably have a little bit of support here. Things looking pretty good there. Obviously, if we can break back up through this, the next liquidity zone that we will find is between 101 and 102, 7, 800,000, somewhere around there. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now, kind of in this 98 to 102,000 range. There's a ton of liquidity here. Everything kind of around the $100,000 mark is very liquidity rich, just because we've got both buyers and sellers at that price point. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. Obviously a really nice pump over the past couple of days. So Bitcoin itself looking pretty nice. I mean, obviously Bitcoin over $2 trillion asset, I think $2.5 trillion asset. So obviously tons of value there. If you are looking to just trade Bitcoin itself specifically, leverage trade, spot trade, anything like that, feel free to use my link in the description below to BTCC. They are doing 10% bonuses on first time deposits. So if you have any amount of money you're wanting to trade, or looking for maybe a new place to trade, a second place to trade, a lot of that type of stuff, really great deal here. Also extra bonuses of up to $10,055 per user. So obviously BTCC willing to throw a pretty decent bit of money at you to trade with them, which is pretty cool. They've also been around for 13 years, so a little risk them being a here today, gone tomorrow type of exchange. 300 plus crypto futures, pretty much anything you want to trade there. Also 500x leverage. I strongly discourage you using this level of leverage, but if you're feeling like it, I guess you could use that. Also no VPN or KYC necessary. Really good if that is something that you are looking for. So like I said, just check the link in my description if you are looking to trade Bitcoin specifically. Obviously the purpose of today's video is to talk about the Bitcoin ecosystem, so we'll continue on looking into that. What we can see here on DeFi Llama, $6.8 billion of TVL on Bitcoin, pretty impressive, I would say, overall. Remember, Bitcoin didn't really start out as a smart contract first chain. Technically, smart contracts really aren't even possible right now in Bitcoin. So the fact that we're seeing $6.8 billion of TVL here, I think this kind of speaks to what we could see on Bitcoin if we see some of these tech improvements actually enabled. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin is the first chain to do it all. Trillions of dollars of value, of just value in Bitcoin specifically. We're starting to see billions of dollars of TVL. We can see even just recently, I mean, we were looking at not even $1 billion prior to the middle of October. And then obviously see just a massive explosion of liquidity on Bitcoin. I mean, this is pretty crazy. We can see Bitcoin is actually the fourth largest chain by TVL. It goes Ethereum, Solana, not too much of a surprise there. And then we go to Tron, and then Bitcoin actually having more TVL than things like Binance Smart Chain, Base, Arbitrum, Hyperliquid, Sui, Avalanche, Aptos, Polygon, Optimism, and more. I mean, obviously though, tons and tons of projects that you would expect would have more TVL than the dinosaur chain, or the boomer chain as a lot of people call it, but that's not the case. Bitcoin's sitting here in the top 4 in terms of TVL. So in my opinion, this is very bullish. I think this kind of shows some of what we could potentially be seeing in the future. I think potentially very bullish here. And so I want to show you a couple of different places where if you are looking to maybe get a little bit more involved within the Bitcoin ecosystem, where you could do that, kind of helping you get your bearings a little bit of kind of what the Bitcoin ecosystem looks like, how it functions, a lot of that type of stuff. The best place for you to go is Magic Eden. Magic Eden is one of the cleanest marketplaces in terms of like trading on Bitcoin. There's a couple of different things. I would say there's kind of two main like divisions, I guess you could say, of Bitcoin, at least so far. We've got Ordinals, and this is kind of like an NFT type of thing. There's some other things as well, but it kind of mainly looks like NFTs. You can see a couple of different of the more like popular ones here, looking somewhat similar to what you'd see out of like a CryptoPunk or a Bored Ape, something like that. So, as we can see here, the most expensive one being close to $30,000 at this point. So, very, very expensive. Obviously nothing to what we've seen on Ethereum, but we could potentially be getting to that point again. If we see a pretty nice run on Bitcoin, I think the narrative could be there. Obviously Bitcoin is kind of like the mother chain. I do think we'll see NFTs come back at some point, and at which point we could see a lot of these do really quite well. The other division that we do have on Bitcoin, at least currently, is called runes. Runes are built to be more like meme coins on Solana. There are some tech limitations that make it a little bit janky, not like super clean. Obviously Solana, I don't think there's going to be much competing with them, but what we can see is a lot of different like meme coin type of coins here. So lots of different trading options, things like that. Like I said, Magic Eden is kind of the best place to do this, at least for right now. If you are interested, we could see market caps here all being relatively small, and this is one of I think the appealing things about the Bitcoin ecosystem is the market caps comparatively to the chain that it's sitting on are very, very small. And so if we do see this type of narrative take off, there's room for a ton of upside in a lot of these, which I think is pretty cool. And I think that's kind of the appeal to a lot of the people within the Bitcoin ecosystem currently. The other thing is I want to show you a different place. This is Unisat. They also have a market. You can see here, similar types of ordinals here if that's something that you're looking for. They also have rune trading here as well if you want to go to runes. I find that the kind of the overall UI and things over here not really as great. That's one of the things that I actually do find a little bit like encouraging as far as the Bitcoin space right now. We're not seeing too much in terms of like UI. Obviously there's a ton of focus on tech improvements. We just haven't seen a lot. Like, this is still very, very early days. Obviously we're going to see things on Ethereum and Solana, things like that, much more like UI focused, things like that, just because there's some of those tech advancements that are already there. And smart contracts have been around a lot longer than they have been on Bitcoin. Smart contracts technically don't exist, but like there's kind of been some workarounds that have made this happen, but that's only within probably the past year or two. So when you look at it that way, Bitcoin's still catching up very much so with a lot of this type of stuff. The other thing, and the main reason I want to show you this, is there's another type of like standard, and this was kind of before runes, and this is BRC20. There are a couple of different things in here. You can see Pepe. Ordi is one of the most like ubiquitous BRC20s. This was kind of the first like Bitcoin coin to really take off. It's done really quite well. Track's another one. Track is one that's had a lot of success here. This is one that again is still sitting in BRC. It's actually kind of moving over. I think it may have already moved over. They've got their own protocol. This might have already moved over as well. But again, we're seeing a lot of meme coins here. We did actually have one of the videos I talked about earlier today, Ghosty. They actually started as a BRC20. They're starting to make a transition over to Solana just because I think some of the tech is a lot more readily available there. But they actually started as a BRC20 in the Bitcoin native ecosystem. So some pretty cool stuff coming out of Bitcoin so far. That's one of the things that I find really encouraging about the overall ecosystem. I think there's a lot of like, there's something there in my opinion. Again, currently the trading experience I wouldn't say is optimal, but that again obviously always happens with tech improvements. That'll change things like that. But it's kind of the allure of like, it's Bitcoin, right? It's the mother chain. This is the one to do it all. It's got a ton of liquidity. There's a ton of people with a lot of Bitcoin. There is the possibility, again, potentially that, maybe they want to buy certain things on Bitcoin, and there's a ton of liquidity there if people are wanting to do that and find that interesting. The only thing I find is kind of like a contrary argument to that is people love their Bitcoin, right? I mean, people are very, very like adverse to getting rid of their Bitcoin. And so because of that, maybe people are going to be less willing to spend it, which could maybe hamper some of the growth in prices and a lot of that type of stuff. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and a subscribe, because it really, really does help me out. And I am obviously always trying to continue and grow my channel. And so your support really, really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, whatever, anything like that, just drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything that you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.